Hey everyone, it's John at Bike Solutions, the maker of the Wingsoft seat. I want to talk to you today about the differences of the 21 model tour seat versus the previous 18, 19, and 20. Now they did change the cover. It looks a little different, but I can guarantee you underneath that cover, it's the exact same thing. So if you want to know how the new seat feels, well, go sit on your existing bike and it's just like that. They did change the cover, and that's pretty much the only difference in the 18, 19, and 20 as far as the base seat is concerned. So I've got one of the 18 through 20 seats here, and I've got a new 21 right here. And just to give you an example, with the covers off, the black things are your heater elements, but as you can see, dimensionally, they are the same thing. And the lip that I talk about in the videos regarding the older seat, as far as this lip at the bottom of the seat, it's still there on the 21. Now they've talked about making the co-rider a little more comfortable by changing some things. They didn't make any changes in the back portion of the seat as well. So here's the back half, the passenger, black being the heater element. As far as the thickness, it's still the same. The density is still the same. So they're virtually unchanged other than the cover. Now, let's talk about this cover for a second. I do like this new cover. It looks great. It does hold you in the seat as you're riding. One interesting thing about this, though, is the center section, the material they used here in the center section of the seat is actually thinner by about 0.03 of an inch versus the older seat. So I find that kind of interesting that it is a little bit thinner. Now, one of the things people have talked about is the piping on the sides and the gray inserts. On the 18, 19, and 20 airbag models, they had this exact same thing. So what they did was they just took the nice look of the airbag model seat and brought it down to the standard tour. So it was on the previous 18, 19s, and 20s. This is a tour. Had it been an Air Mag, it would have looked just like this. So that being said, as far as even the pans were the same. You have a backrest on this one, but that should answer your questions regarding that. And it's just as hard and just as uncomfortable as the 18, 19, and 20. Now let's talk about the backrest. I've got a backrest of the 18 through 20, and I've got the new 21. This is significantly different. Now, I have a co-rider. We just went out and did a couple-hour ride, and one of the things that we noticed was that you primarily feel the support here in the center section only. Now, the problem that we had with the older generation seat, and I'm using the same person to test both of these seats that I've used for literally the last 14 years to do my co-rider seats. So she's a rider herself. She knows what she's looking for. On this previous generation, one of the comments was that you felt a lot of pressure on the bottom of the seat, and it was a very hard foam, and that was the only place she was touching it. And we fixed that by changing out all the foam in the center section of the seat to give you more area to sit in. On this one, she does like the seating angle. First impressions of it were very favorable, saying, hey, it felt great, no problem. But as we did some time in the seat and as we rode around on it, the things that she noticed was that this center section here was pretty much the only area where she was receiving support. You can see it's a much larger backrest, but whereas here you can sit up against this whole section, here we're only sitting on this section here. And even myself, I got in the back seat, I sat down in it, and the thing that I noticed is I only sat in the center section here. I did not feel anything on the sides. I didn't feel anything beyond this seam in here. So that is unique. It's maybe a design challenge to actually overcome that. Backrests are pretty specific to the individual. So you can literally have two people get on the bike. One would love it, one would hate it. It really is a rider preference. But these are the things that we discovered with the new backrest. The angle was better. Initial impressions were a lot better. The only improvement it really needed was to change this backrest to flatten it out to provide more support over a greater area. So those are the main areas and the main differences. Oh, I also want to talk about, as far as the construction of this thing, if you look on the older one, it's just simply stapled on the bottom, stapled all the way across. They do come apart in the exact same way. You have a screw that comes in from the side. You have an attachment point here, 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 and another one that comes in. That is unchanged. So they actually bolt together. So if you could take the backrest off the older one, you can take the backrest off the newer one. But this is the back side of it. You'll notice that it has these strings and these seams, because these strings are actually sewn into the cover to pull it into the backrest to give it this shape. So, and they also have the embossing back here on the back. So overall, I would say it's a good improvement. The initial impressions were really favorable. You might like it. You might have some issues with it. It's one of the things where you're going to have your co-rider just spend some time in it and determine if that lack of support over the area is actually something that's going to be something that we need to fix. But we will come up with a modification for that to provide support over a larger area. So overall, I love the seat. I like the vinyl. It looks great. It holds you in the seat. I can make it more comfortable, but as far as everything else, you can kind of determine what works best for you. Now, one thing I do want to talk about, I'm going to close with this. I've had some people say that they're 21 or something, or they're 19 is more comfortable than their 18 or whatever. The foam density on these seats varies quite a bit. I can tell you that this seat is softer than my 18. And the reason for that is because of the manufacturing variance. Based on the day that they did it, can change the density of the foam. It's the exact same material, it's the same foam, the same thickness, but there's about a 10-pound variation between plus or minus of where it can be. You can be unlucky and get one of the really hard ones, or you may get a softer one. It's kind of the luck of the draw. This one is a little bit softer. It's on the softer end of that manufacturing tolerance. My other one was on the harder end of that tolerance. So that's why you can hear people say my 18 is harder than my 19, or my 19 is harder than my 18. Depending on the day it was made, it's kind of a luck of the draw. So you have to take that into some kind of consideration also when you're comparing comments from people saying that one seat is more comfortable than the other. Same thing. It's just the tolerance in the manufacturing process. So that's it. If you have any questions, give me a call, 512-394-9601. You can go to my website, bikesolutionsllc.com, or send me an email, john@bikesolutionsllc.com. But we're going to be doing the 21 and later seats. They're the same thing. So all my modifications still apply to these. We can make them a lot more comfortable. And if you got any questions, give me a call.